And we are live. How are you, Mehra? This is the second episode with Mehra Mamdouh, and today we are going to discuss when is intentional focus on culture important in the organization life cycle. It's always a
And
pleasure to be with you, Mehra, and good morning.
good morning, Isharu. Good morning. Hope how was your morning today?
Yeah, it was. It's amazing. You know, the weather these days are good. Is good in Egypt. Yeah, since the last
Yeah,
3 4 days. Yeah, so
yeah, good.
I'm enjoying. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so when is intentional focus on culture is important in the organization life cycle? Actually, intentional focus on culture is important during all organization life cycles. However, it might take like a different approach or a different format according to where you are from the organization life cycle. And according to a Stanford study that was done, I believe 4 or 5 years ago, by it was led by Jim Barron. Firms that put culture fitness first on their top priority during the selection process of employees, they are less likely to fail. And actually, they did this research on 200 startups, and there was a 0% failure between the 200 startups where they decided to put the culture fitness on the top priority. So it is really important during the initial phase where we're starting the company. We want people who share the same values. As we mentioned last time, the organization culture is the sum of our behaviors and norms. It's all driven by our values. So when we share the same values or like values, this helps the organization to grow and grow faster and work smoothly with creating the internal cohesion between all teams and all departments easily and fast.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
No, please ask.
Yeah, so actually, it's important from the initial stages. Sometimes when we work with organizations, we find that culture is absent from their consciousness and their intentionality. You know, it's not put there by intention, and we actually start firefighting symptoms that are really, that come up out of culture that is non-intentional, because actually culture is there by any means, and it's always there. However, what if you're intentional about it or not, there is a culture, that's already that you cultivated throughout the years. So when the organization leaders are not intentional about it, so we find disasters, firefighting, we find disengaged employees, we find lots of symptoms that are unhealthy mostly in the organization. So maybe it's important to know when to bring this into intentionality. This is where, if it's not intentional from the beginning, when it's critical to address culture.
Again, it's critical to focus on the culture fitness from day one. And we've worked together on this. I've designed a program for startups for co-founders, where from the beginning, co-founders sit together. They discuss their own personal values. They discuss the vision for their startup and where they want to be, and how do they want to see the organization, how this organization should look like in 5 years, not in terms of business and growth, but in terms of behaviors and norms and how people are working together. Is it going to be an agile company, or is it going to be slow but sure but slowly? So when they do discuss these points earlier in their selection process, getting more people on board, they select the people where they will be able to work together easily. So it is important to put culture fitness as a top priority again from the initial stage. It is important. However, one of IDEO. IDEO is known for the design thinking. One of the things that IDEO presented to the community recently is that After growth, when the organization is all right, so we have our business is going, we are growing. Here we don't need to look for cultural fitness, but more for people who would add to our culture. So, for example, now the startup at the beginning, or the our company at the beginning, we needed people who think alike, and who always look at things and say, how can we do it differently, and not how is it usually done. We're looking for people who are innovative, customer centric, three, four values that we've been hiring for. We've been gathering a team, putting a team where they cherish these values, and these values are behaviorally manifested on our daily basis. After IDO, what they said is that when we go to the after the growth phase, during the growth phase, now organization needs someone who would come with a different view of how we do things. Well, would come to the organization and add to the culture. Maybe someone who would start looking at things and say, this needs to be automated. This is a great process. Let's put this process in place, and this process will be followed, not challenged every time. We need some people to think differently. So first, at the beginning, we need to look for culture fitness, where people they do think alike, they do behave in ways that would not conflict, and will integrate together, will create internal cohesion. However, with growth, we can think of culture contributors, and this is what IDO called them, culture contributors, with people who think differently, who appreciate different things. But again, we need these things inside the organization.
So here you're talking about that culture, even if it's intentional, there is also, as if you're talking of it as if it is a moving target. Yani, the culture contributors, I believe they're coming in to disrupt the culture, to add to the culture, to actually increase something, to flavor the culture. So as if you're talking about something that is moving, that is alive.
Exactly, culture is alive, and actually,
No.
this is one of the things that Richard Barrett always say, that when we look at the organization, it's organization culture is it's like a human. Simply, the organization culture exists because of the some of the human behaviors inside the organization, the behaviors, the norms, their values, their beliefs, and all that. So it is moving, it is alive. It is influenced by external factors and internal factors. It is affected big time by the leadership profile that is on board or in the organization. It could be affected by a small team that is acting in a silo mindset and going in a certain direction. So yes, definitely, culture is alive, and we always and it's a I don't know, a company. What would it goes with this with the company life cycle all the way long.
Actually, it's when you're talking about this, how it's alive and this stuff, it connects with me with nature, with any organic thing. It's something that's alive and active, something that grows, that breathes, that takes in, nutrition, that gets out consumptions. If you define what's a living thing, it's actually it all applies to organizations, and actually the culture is the reflection to the liveliness, the soul of the organization. So and this is something that I believe that if we're focused about our livelihood as human beings, and feeling alive, feeling connected, feeling this kind of interconnection and engagement between the team members, the organization employees, the different departments. I guess these kinds of silos, the negative impacts that may come in, it may make the organization sick. It may make it weak. It may make it, in a way, not contribute in life as it should contribute, not with the full
Exactly.
engagement, not with the full potential. So so here I believe that when is it is dangerous. Maybe what's important here is to talk about when it is dangerous to keep not intentional about the organization culture.
Um, we all يعني speaking about danger, we all have seen this example of getting this strong people, this strong person on board with total with different values, with different beliefs. The person who thinks that things should run differently than what we are used to and what is helping us as an organization and as a team to succeed, and the impact of this on the organization, either on the short term or when sometimes people don't like to admit that they made a wrong decision. Hence, they decide to keep this person, which impact the organization badly, and sometimes the results are really are really big. So it we must all companies now, and actually this is something that that I'm seeing recently. We all companies must consider the culture fitness assessment, culture fitness interviews, culture fitness discussion, whatever they call it inside the process, their hiring process. We need to consider the culture fitness when deciding if we're getting this person on board or not. And it's not that when you are rejected or when you are not I'm sorry for rejection, when you are not accepted for a certain role because of the culture fitness, it's not that you are bad. It's simply the way you like to do things, how you do things are not matching or does not fit with the way we as an organization like to do things, or see this as what's important for us. So culture fitness, you can be a great culture fit in one company, and in another company you could be a zero culture fit. And in all cases, this does not mean by any means that you are not capable or skilled enough, or you are not good enough for the job.
Okay, so now we're talking about culture fitness, and you stressed on it, and actually, I believe that this relates a lot to many people that were technically competent to the job, yet
Yes.
they were actually rejected. There was something, sometimes they call it energetic, organization that doesn't make them a good fit, even after being technically competent, and the experience profile was totally matching what is needed. So I guess it doesn't mean that you're rejected somewhere, that you're bad. Maybe that's you will not actually, you will find troubles to actually channel in your technical competences and your capabilities, your experience will not be appreciated there, or will have something like a block to make them happen, like, yeah.
Yes, and this definitely is reflect. Yeah, you can see it reflected on the engagement of this
Yeah.
of the person. So you can get people, you can hire people according to three criteria. The first one, the skill set. So you're technically competent, your skill set matches the role perfectly. And when this is a priority, when the organization put this in priority, you can get someone who is skillful but may not, as you put it in a really nice way, they will not be able to channel their expertise and all the experience that they have into the organization, because they are not a culture fit. So skill set is a criteria. The other one is potential to grow. This is where when we hire people, not because of their current skill set, but because they seem to be potential. Their ability to learn more, their ability to grow, their appetite for attending different for development and growth and all that. And this is another thing. And the third criteria is the culture fitness, where you can get someone who is not technically the best match, this person is not purely a person who would reject or resist growth and development, but in the first place, this person is culturally fit, and this would be the best choice to make. Again, this is according to the Stanford study that I referred to earlier in our talk.
Okay,
And
so no, okay, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, I was going to ask the next question. Yeah, so go
okay,
ahead.
okay. So and this is actually. Yeah, we always say it is important to get the right people on the bus, and it is important to put the right person on the right seat. So culture fitness, in addition to skills and competencies, is the best formula to decide on hiring or not decision.
So can we maybe shed some lights on how we put culture in intentionality, or putting culture intentionally? Me as a leader, what are the components that support me to set the ingredients, to set a focus, on a culture in the organization? What do I
Yeah.
look for? Where do I search?
Okay. Okay, so if you're starting your organization, it's again at the beginning when we think about the product, the service, the customer, our target customer, the market, and funding. All these points we need to also discuss and think of what's the purpose, why do we exist, our vision, and what are the cultural values that would support the organization to succeed in achieving their objective or its objective or its or goals and aspirations. For example, if we are starting a company and we decided that in order for us to succeed, we need four values. We need innovation, sustainability, agility, and customer centricity. And we decide that these are the values that if existed in the organization culture, if reflected on our daily behaviors, it manifested on the leadership profile, then we are going to succeed in achieving our goals. Then the second step is to define what do we mean by each of these values in terms of behaviors, demonstrated behavior. So when we say agility, this means that the team is always in a move, will not resist change. We do not get lost in details during meetings and discussions. We always think alternatives. This is how we define agility in our company, and this what we have decided earlier, that this will help the organization to grow and achieve their objectives. When we say customer centricity, when we, for example, the behavior demonstration is that when we see a new idea of when someone come with a new product idea, the first question that pops in our mind: how would this idea help solve a problem to our customer, or how would our customers see this as helpful or as useful to them? So this is customer centricity. When we decide that sustainability is one of our values, we always look at the products, the services that we are doing, and how it affects the community around us. Innovation is do we always do the thing the same way, or we always look and think outside the box? We're willing to do something new, and so on. So first, decide on the values that would support and help, not what the values that the leadership like, not what I value as a leader, but what is important for the organization to succeed and grow. Then define these values in terms of behavior manifestation, then start incorporating these behavior manifestations in everything that you do. Start aligning the whole system. Even the interview questions should be focused on these four values in a direct or indirect way, and see if the candidate, for example, ask the candidate, if you're given the choice to do a certain product or project, would you do it the same way or would you do it differently? What did you do? What was the biggest change that you introduced to the organization that you used to work for? So these questions and the answer would tell me if this person is a culture fit or not, and hence we grow the culture towards the desired direction.
Okay, that's amazing, Mehra. Mehra, now I see that there are many points that I would love to discuss here, because actually this is a perfect scenario where we discuss, values, what is needed from the market, what's needed from this industry, from the company, what's the essence of this company, and how it reflects, how it should reflect its function internally and externally, how it should behave. We define these behaviors. So what if already the company is founded? And this
Yeah.
is where the big dilemma is when we focus intentionally with organizations. There is already something that happened. There's already something like a legacy, something
Yeah.
like a legacy culture that is there, that is sometimes, overwhelming to change or transform into the desired culture. In a perfect world, the culture should be one, two, three. However, what we
Yeah.
have now after years of work, because we were unintentional and unconscious about these aspects of culture, and we were not intentionally leading the organization with focus on the current culture and the desired culture. So what do we have to deal with? Like, what's the legacy culture here? What was unintentionally grown?
Yeah.
How can we deal with this? What is the kind, and what is the journey here?
Yeah. Okay, this is a really nice question. So, to begin with, you can deal with you can change or transform or deal with something that you can't measure. So first, we start by measuring. When a leader comes and tell me, Mehra, we have an issue with our culture. People, I see people all day and not engaged, not motivated. There are lots and lots of we're losing people, whatever the reason, and I want to transform the culture. I need to find a solution to this. First step is to measure the current culture. In how to measure the culture, what I do is I use the Barrett culture surveys, where simply it tells us what is the current culture values, prevailing values. We ask all employees, everyone in the company, what are the current culture values, and what are the desired culture values, what are the values that they would like to see in the organization. And the third question is that what are your own personal values. From the survey, from measuring the current culture and the desired culture and the gap between the desired and the personal values of the people on board, and the gap between the current culture and the personal values, you can start seeing clearly where are the areas where we have issues, what are the things that needs to change. Is it a leadership issue? Is it sometimes it's as simple as the policies and procedures that we have in the organizations are not supporting the values, the espoused values, the values that we say that these are the values that the organization is all about. And this misalignment is creating frustration for people. So maybe it's a change in a policy or procedures. Maybe it's we need. Sometimes it's because of the hiring. We hire people again, prioritizing their skill set, not paying attention to the values, culture, fitness, and their own values. So first we measure. Then, according to the measurement, we start to identify the gaps. Then we look at what are the current culture values that are serving us, that we want to keep, that they are really good. And these it's our strength, areas of strength, and what are the culture values that we want to get rid with, from, and where are they coming from. Sometimes you might decide that you want to split teams, make a reorg, assign a mentor or a coach to to a leader in the organization, maybe change in leadership. Whatever the decision will be based on the outcome of the measurement. So step one is to measure in order to make an objective decision, not a subjective view of the culture is bad, the culture is toxic. What exactly is bad? What exactly is toxic? What is causing that, and how we can change it?
So amazing, Mehra, amazing. That's really very descriptive, and I believe the steps are really clear. So I just want to summarize what we learned today from today's discussion. There were many points that we went through. First, we started when that the culture is the intentional focus on culture should be from day one. And
Yes.
then we move towards that culture is intentionality about culture will make it alive and active, and even there is always changes that is happening internally and externally. And the example of IG came in, in a very good example of how we deal with changes in culture and environment,
Yes.
and how we deal with it, and how organization may get sick, while it's alive.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually it's very, and then we you mentioned the culture fitness and how it's important for hiring talents,
Yes.
and actually how we expand through focus on culture fitness, so that we can make alignment and focus of the organization and its culture, and it's growing, it's really continuing. Also, then you talked about how we work on getting understanding culture and being intentional about culture through defining the values, and actually seeing from the clients, the customers, and the purpose driven. And then we ended by how organizations that were not intentional, how to assess their current culture versus the desired, and see the gap and how to work on it. It was really an amazing discussion today, and we have 3 minutes now before closure. And I wanted you actually to maybe give us some, what can be a closure towards this question.
Okay, so actually, when we were talking earlier and decided that this time we'll talk about culture fitness, I wanted to leave people with something that they can start applying right after the talk. Again, culture fitness is really important, and it has a big impact on the growth of the organization, the internal cohesion, the engagement of people on board. Organizations are they live according to how people inside the organization are living and are developing and growing. So it is important to choose the right culture fit when getting people on board. So what I wanted to do is to leave people with like 3 questions that they can ask me during the interviews, and these questions would help them decide whether this person is a culture fit or not. I hope that these questions would help. So the first question would be, what was the most frustrating thing about working at your last company? When people start talking about what frustrated them in their with their last company or employer, this would tell you if they would fit the culture that you have in the organization or not. The other question is to ask them to describe their ideal work environment. Some people would like to work in a cubicle. Others, they appreciate open workspace. And one of the clients I used to work with, actually, when they wanted to assign an office to me, and it was a consulting assignment for 6 months, they gave me a small office with only one desk and one chair, and it was isolated away from people. So I used this office for a week, and then I moved my laptop and I picked a cubicle in the open space, and I went and sit there. Otherwise, I wouldn't have continued with them during this assignment. So, well, describe your ideal work environment. This would definitely help. some people do their best when they work individually. Others do their best when they work alone in teams. So if the culture is that we do everything as a group, this person will suffer, this person will suffocate in the organization and will not be able to continue with us. So what was the most frustrating thing? Describe your work environment, and what are the characteristics of your ideal boss, the boss that you would like to have. Again, it helps us to see if this person would be able to easily collaborate with the managers and the leaders inside the organization. Simple 3 questions, but I hope that these questions would help you during the interview to assess for the culture fitness during the interview. And there are lots and lots of questions that people can definitely come up with, but it was just a quick.
That's very informative. I put these questions, I wrote them, I put them on the ticker down there. So I hope it really helps people to address the culture fitness with their employees. And I guess maybe next week we may need next after 2 weeks now, when we are having our next episode on 11th of August. We may talk about leaders and their role in culture transformation. That would be a very good topic, and maybe we'll talk about what is their role also in culture fitness. I believe that we're tapping around always culture fitness when we come to whatever anything that steps around culture. Talk about how talents are fit.
Yes.
And that's very important direction to talk in. We have a couple of comments. Actually, it's one of them from Sharif Gafar. He's actually thank you for thank you for such kind topic to keep it going. Thanks, Sharif. And there is our master Ali Al-Qattan. Actually, he's one of the mentors and gurus in this. Thank you so much, and keep going. And these are the 2 comments we had, and actually that's really amazing. Really, Mehra is a culture transformation consultant, and actually I'm really very proud to work with side by side with her in many assignments since about now 9 years now. We've been working together. And actually, if you want to contact Mehra about culture transformation, that's the contacts of Mehra Mamdouh on LinkedIn, Mehra Mamdouh, okay? And actually, if you want to contact me, Mohamed Sharaf, for any leadership development or cultural transformation, I'm also welcoming, and my contact is in the ticker down there, m@sharafeldin.me, or just contact me on LinkedIn. And thank you, Mehra, for this amazing day. And our next episode will be on 11th of August, same time, right,
yes.
inshallah? Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mehra, and continuing the cultural conversations. And may you all have a very good day, and goodbye. Thank you, Mehra.
You're welcome.
And broadcast.